the 24/7 hustle bustle grind is glorified. However, it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be that way. And if you want it that way, go ahead, live your life the way you want. Just cut off
Yeah.
just stop listening to what we have to say and go ahead and go do whatever you got to do for the rest of the day. Um,
You're too busy to listen to this anyway.
I mean, all right. It really dawned upon me when it said, understand who you want to become or understand what you want out of life.
Look, hell of an intro. I tell you what you info, but I never really been the type of dude to give no info.
Welcome to the Walking Girl Show, everyone. It's Roney Courtney on the mic, and we are officially back. You guys are probably wondering what we were doing for the past couple of weeks. And it's like, I've heard this episode already, or I've heard this one already. And sorry, guys. We need a break too. I mean, forgive us now, forgive us later. Do as you please, but it's that time that we all need as well to be able to kind of refresh our minds and get ourselves back in this grind, I guess we can call it, where because now essentially we'll be going every single week till just about the same time, right? The end of the year. And hold us accountable to it. We're not going to give up. We're not going to quit on nobody, especially not on you guys. So, we're back to give you guys more value. But first and foremost, I kind of want to hear from people as we have stepped into the year already. Hope the year is going great for everybody. Hope everyone was safe during the holidays, had a good year, and so on and so forth. I really want to hear from you guys, though, because this is all really for you guys. We're going to be selfish and bring the guests that we want, but we really want to know what type of guests do you guys want to bring or at least hear from. So if there is somebody that does come top of mind right this second, pause or jot it down, send us a DM, email, walkinggirl@gmail.com. Do whatever you have to do to make sure that we know who it is that you want to hear from so we can get them on so that you can hear what that person has to say. But with all that being said, I'm done with my commercial. I can call it my commercial break. How are you doing, Courtney?
I'm doing pretty good this morning. Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you said. I definitely want. We were just talking about season 3.
Yeah. Oh
So
man.
very exciting. Yeah. So I mean, basically same goals, same like everything that we want to do, but more
Yeah.
and bigger and better, and yeah. So more feedback, more involvement, all of that. So yeah, anything. We always say that, but any ideas people have for tools, any ideas people have for
Yeah.
topics, guests, all of it. So yeah, more community, more interaction, the better. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, kind of just chilling through the holidays. I
Mhm.
notice my mental state is kind of interesting. I'm noticing since New Year's. I'm already. It's like we're only recording a couple days into the new year, and I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself already. Which is like, of course it's me talking. So, but it's just kind of interesting. I'm just like seeing my own thoughts and like experiencing my own thoughts and kind of wondering what's going on. But I'm not too worried about it because I know I have the tools and I know how to get out of it. I'm just kind of wondering when I will get out of it at this point. But um,
This might be a perfect episode because it's actually I wouldn't say I was in the same predicament, but I received the gift over the break. And I'm not going to tell you what the gift is just yet because
mhm,
it's part of this episode, and I'm going through it, and I'm just like, huh, this is very applicable to. I think everyone should start off the year with the gift that I got.
mhm.
But we'll talk about
So
that. We'll
much
talk about it.
suspense.
It is. There is. But it's really applicable. It's like I'm reading it. Damn, I kind of gave it away just there. But if you caught it, you caught it. But as I'm going through it, I'm like, oh wow, I could really use a lot of what's going on right now, especially as the new year starts. Everyone has New Year's plans, goals, things that they want to accomplish. So it's a great way to start the year. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about. I mean, we've already talked a lot about New Year's and
yeah.
intentions and expectations and things like that. And I think I just really wanted that time to set those intentions and the goals for the year and what are we gonna do and just have time to rest too. Not that it has to be all work, 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 think, but have
Mm-hmm.
time to really rest too. And I don't really feel like I had that. So then once it was the first, I was like, I'm too late. Like it was kind of already that like man, like we already started now. Just that type of thing, which obviously is not the case, but
Yeah.
But yeah, so, but I'm looking forward, things are going to be, like I said, it's going to kind of work itself out.
Yeah.
Just things will fall into place, but that's where I'm at.
This is the
So,
year for intention, I would say, for the
mm-hmm,
podcast, for myself. It's being
mm-hmm,
intentional with everything that we do to make sure that we are giving value. Now, for myself, it's persistence. If you guys didn't know, so that is,
mm-hmm.
gonna be what it is. But I'm doing good. We're in the new year. I mean, I was ready for this before the new year started. I started already thinking about it beforehand, which is I get ahead of myself sometimes,
Yeah.
and it was good. Break was good. I enjoyed it. Needed it, I would say. But I'm ready. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
here. I'm excited. I mean, the
Yeah.
mic is back up. I get to speak to Courtney again on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, this is one of my moments that I enjoy, and although the timing was kind of away from it, I enjoyed it. But it's like
Yeah.
I'm ready to get back on the road and do what it is that
Mm-hmm.
I'm at least I think I'm here to do.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
funny how like taking time away, you might not have this experience and that's okay, but taking
no,
time away
yeah.
from the podcast and the regular posting and making stuff,
Hmm.
I feel like actually stressed me out more
Okay,
than
it didn't do that for me.
constantly. No, I'm saying no, that's why I said it might not have done that for you. But for me it was like, oh, should I be doing something? Oh, like do I have to like
Mhm.
are we behind on this? Like, should we be? What order are the posts going? Like, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
where we're so used to our routine that taking time off, I was like, wait, I didn't expect him to post this, and I
Yeah.
thought I was gonna.
No,
So,
don't worry about it.
which is fine, and like that was the plan. Was it was just kind
Yeah.
of gonna be casual, as we took that break. But for me, it was just kind of like, should I? It was just off routine, and I
Absolutely.
think we have such a set routine, and so it was just funny. It's good to take the time and it was fine, but for me it was more like should I be doing something? Is there something I and then
Yeah.
you were like, we are not I'm not doing anything, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna leave Ronnie alone for a minute. I was gonna give him some time, make sure he has his break. But yeah, no, it was just an interesting experience because I wouldn't have
So what
expected that.
she's referring to is there was a conversation that Courtney and I had, and I think I wouldn't say she was trying to put me to work. I was like, my brain capacity right now is shut down. I've already shut down for the year. I'm not doing anything new, right? If it was already on my
Mm-hmm.
calendar, sure, I'll take care of that. But anything new, I was like, see you next year. We'll take care of
Mm-hmm.
that when it needs to be taken care of. Right now, it's just getting through the next couple of days, week, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whenever it was that we had that conversation. I was just like, no more new work for me. Sure, I'll post here and there, just like you mentioned, very
Yeah.
casual, but it wasn't something that was like we have to do it this day, or not. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say for myself, you said it gave you a little bit. It sounds like anxiety, I guess stress, because you're like, oh my god, what should I be doing? Relax. That's probably what it was, right?
Yeah.
But for myself, I would say it's more I missed doing it, right? I
Yeah,
missed,
yeah.
it's of course you're doing a routine and you just stop, and now it's like, okay, well, what do you do now? Like, where does
Hmm.
that time go now? Because that time
Yeah.
that you were spent doing this is no longer there for the time being. But I said I missed it a little bit. Did I miss the posting? No, not really. Still won't.
Social
I
media
mean,
is not
social
Ronnie's
media.
favorite. It never will be.
No, it
But
won't. It won't
we're doing what
until
we can. We're not
yeah.
professionals, but
Don't want to be either.
hmm
All right, but we've talked enough your ears off, and you guys kind of get a little bit insight of where we're at. Hopefully, you guys can take that time to kind of reflect and see, what's going on with us. Now is the time to really do it with yourself, if you want,
yeah.
at least. But this is our way of being very authentic and having a meaningful way to start the entire year, so you guys can see how we are when we're ourselves. Because as I've mentioned, there's a gift that I received, and this gift was thankfully from my sisters. I don't know what made them gift this to me, but they gifted me a book. The book is Atomic Habits. Don't know who has read it.
Mm.
If you haven't, I've read it before. It's been multiple times since I've actually read that, whether it was on
Mm-hmm.
Audible. But this is my very first time actually having the hard copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? Let's just crack it open. I think I took one book home, but I was like, I don't want to read that. So I was like, while I was home in Connecticut, I cracked it open. I started it, and I was just like, man, this book is very freaking powerful. It's just a good reminder
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, man, I forgot that this book existed and the type of value that's in it. It made me
Cool.
want to share with you guys a little bit more because I think there's a lot of pieces, and I'm not even done with it. I don't even think I'm halfway through it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to share with you so much just content in the first couple of pages. because I
Yeah.
think it's what we all go through in the beginning of the year. If you
Hmm.
haven't already set your goals yet, you still have time, because again, we're only a couple weeks in, and so it's a matter of just doing it. But again, it being Atomic Habits, it's really talking about getting rid of good bad habits and imploring, or at least evolving and making better your good habits.
Hmm.
Very, I would say this, I wouldn't say it's so much similar to what Leon's episode was like,
Hmm.
but it goes into the hustle and bustle of what we all go through, for the
Yeah.
most part, right? Can't say everybody. But one of the
Interesting.
things that I do want to highlight that it talks about, and I laughed when I saw this one, it says, we live in a day and age where the 24/7, we kind of just talked about it, right? The
Hmm.
hustle, the bustle, the grind,
Hmm.
that's being very glorified. And
Hmm.
I just laughed at it because I was like, this is literally, I wouldn't say I'm 24/7, but no, I'll just admit to it. I'm close to it. If I'm not, I'm very
I was
close
gonna
to it.
say both of us are so guilty.
Very. And so that's one of the things that I think that it mentioned in the book, and I was just like, okay, well, if you're there, it doesn't have to be that way. And so
Hmm.
that's when the light bulb went off in my head, and I'm going through story time at this point with you guys as I'm going through the book, because that part right there allowed me to be like, all right, well, I'm not the only one I know that feels this way. This way,
Hmm.
and if I am, cool, I'll be on my own island by myself. I'm perfectly fine with that. But reading it, it breaks down what you kind of must do to break out of that,
Okay.
because I personally don't think it has to be that way. Do you?
Hmm. No,
Yeah.
no. I
There's a
mean,
way. Yeah.
the word that pops into my head, we're bringing it back. The word that pops into my head is balance.
Mm,
There's the balance between the time that you put into stuff and the
yeah.
energy you put into stuff, and making sure you have that rest time and that self care time instead of the go go go. But
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. I'm cutting you off a little bit, but I haven't read the book. But it's definitely a book that, like, if I have a list in my head of things I want to read, that's one of the top for sure.
Yeah.
It's just one that I've seen multiple times. I know multiple people who have it and who have read
Mm-hmm.
it. And so when you said, I was like, this just keeps coming
That's
back
another
up.
one.
So yeah, it's definitely something I want to look into, but I haven't read it. So.
it's I would say, granted, I haven't gone through it entirely, so I'm not trying to
Hmm.
give a review in any sort of way or fashion. It's more or less just sharing with you guys what it is that I'm experiencing as I'm reading it.
Yeah.
So far, I would say this is probably the one book outside of Rich Dad and Poor Dad. This is probably one of the other books I would actually, if somebody says I don't have it, I will pay for them to have it. Like
Hmm.
that's how powerful it can be, because as I'm reading it, and this is where I want everybody to really think about it. Again, the 24/7 hustle bustle grind is glorified. However, it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be that way. And if you want it that way, go ahead, live your life the way you want. Just cut off
Yeah.
just stop listening to what we have to say, and go ahead and go do whatever you got to do for the rest of the day. Um,
You're too busy to listen to this anyway.
I mean, right? It really dawned upon me when it said, understand who you want to become, or understand what you want out of life. And
Mm.
so that is when I was like, all right, now you got my attention. Because it goes
Hmm.
back to what you just said, the balance aspect of it. In order
Hmm.
for you to have balance, you need to know what is what, and what you're gonna do when, and how it's
Hmm.
gonna look, and what is gonna be coupled with, or are
Hmm.
you gonna be habit stacking?
Hmm.
So just
Well, and
hearing, go ahead.
and also, just how does it fulfill you? And
Mm-hmm.
because you're
Mm-hmm.
saying like what is what and when is when, but are all of the what is what, are those all work related things? Are those
Yeah.
all effortful things, or are some of the what's like rest related? Are some of them self care related? Are some of them just giving back to you? That's where that balance comes in. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have this strong feeling against that word balance, because when I
I
hear
was
balance,
gonna say you're not pushing back as much
I'm,
as you usually do.
well, because the thing is, I believe there is a such thing as balance. I just think that
Mhm.
you really have to create it. And
Yeah, absolutely.
if you just say I want balance in my life, and if I ask you that question, what does balance look like, and you
Hmm.
don't have a response, then you will never ever really have balance, right? You
Yeah.
could say, yeah, you're balanced one day, but then the next day
Hmm.
somebody hit you with a baseball bat, and you're back to
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
you're what is it? Miley Cyrus said, you're breaking wreck, or
Wrecking ball.
wrecking ball, yeah.
What are we referring to right now?
Oh man,
Uh,
but yeah, no,
no,
it's
it's absolutely, it's something you need to be intentional about for
hmm
sure. Yeah.
and I just don't think many individuals are intentional with it.
Hmm.
It does take a lot of time and thought that does have to
Yeah.
go into it, and I think that's where a lot of people just give up, in my personal
Hmm.
opinion.
Well, our
Eh,
priorities, I feel like it is. I mean, talking about the grind, like that 24-hour grind,
yeah,
it's a societal thing, and we unfortunately with the financials, the way things are now across just kind of across the country.
yeah,
Not that every single person is struggling, but a lot of people are struggling. So we are going to prioritize work. We are going to prioritize side gigs. We are going to
yeah,
prioritize things that have an income flow, or just things like that where it's like this is something I have to do, or whatever we've set into our routine, like we just got to go just to make sure that we can get to work the next day and can continue to do that. And mental health just isn't something that's been in the forefront for a long time. It's I
I don't
think
think it
mental
ever will,
health
to be
and
honest.
yeah, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I no, just mental health and like self-care and thinking about you and prioritizing you. Those are kind of new conversations still.
Yeah.
So that's why I think balance is hard to achieve, because it's like, well, I don't need balance. I just need to get to work. I just need to
Yeah.
put food on the table,
I need
like
money.
that type
Yeah.
of thing.
It's actually
Yeah.
funny that you say that because I actually came across this chart. It was done by Chartar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. The source was YouGov. Um, I could probably share here, be generous and share with you guys what I'm looking at here. But essentially, it was like new me, well, new year, new me. What America wants to change in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, most of the United States adults want to change they want to save more money. Whether it is that was at least the median, but the people that want to save the most money is people that are between 18 and 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I saw that and I was like, very shocking. So I said, what are you guys doing about it? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll just sit there right now for a bit, right? What are you doing about it? But if you
Mm-hmm.
just say you want to save more money, well, then how does that look, right?
Yeah.
That's where you could start to, and it kind of rolls right into what it is, understanding what you want to become versus, or you could say what you want out of life. I
Yeah.
have a few questions that I'm gonna go ahead and pose you to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Answer it yourself, right? Or write them down, pause, and do whatever you have to do. But what skills do you want to develop? What do you want out of life? Kind of same thing I just mentioned. How do you typically behave under stress, right? What
Mm-hmm.
bad habits are you ready to address? And of course, what good habits are you ready to employ, right? Add to your
Mm-hmm.
life to help you get closer to what it is that you're looking for. And then the last one is everyone, I think, has a natural talent, right? Do you know it? And if so, how are you going to use it?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something that you're really good at. I mean, you just got to really sit down with yourself, and maybe it's not even on one occasion that you figure that out. Maybe it's over the course of months or years, or somebody tells you that you're really good at this, and maybe that's when you really start to tackle it. Courtney, you're
Mm-hmm.
laughing. Let's hear it.
No,
Let's
I
no.
like
Okay.
it. I like all those questions. I think they're great questions. I was just thinking about what my talent was. That's all.
Do you know
But
yours?
I think I do.
What do
I
you think
think
it
I
is?
do. And what I was thinking was when you hear talent, I think my brain, or I don't know if other people experience this. People kind of go to like talent show type stuff, like, oh, I can play an instrument, like I'm
Yeah,
athletic. I can. When we think of
that's
talents, it's
fair.
kind of like I'm a really fast typer, like just silly things like that. But that's not all talents are. I think if I had to, I might be able to come up with something different or new. But I think if I had to say what it was right now, and it's funny because in my head I was like, I'm kind of. It sounds like I'm talking myself up, but I'm like, this sounds more like a superpower.
Yeah.
Honestly, to me, is I think I'm good at making people feel heard,
Mm,
and I think that's huge.
mm,
Because that's people just need to feel heard and feel understood as
mhm,
like who they are, and I think I'm good at that. Not only professionally, but I don't know. I just there's very little like people that I would judge, and then
yeah.
I don't know. I'm a judgmental person in terms of just like society. Like I don't like her shirt. Like just little things like that. But in terms of really connecting with somebody, and I just mean playfully. Like I don't
Mhm,
actually mean anything by it. But in terms of actually sitting down with somebody and understanding them, like there's very I just went through this is random, but with a client I just went through like they've been arrested 8 different times. I just went through all their charges and different things like that, and he's just looking at me and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's work through it, because it's not my job to judge. It's
yeah.
literally my job not to. And different things like that. And so yeah, just understanding people and hearing people, I think I
Okay.
think is huge. So I just wanted to share that because I want people to explore. You know, a talent doesn't have to be, like I said, an
Yeah.
instrument or a sport or
Yeah.
anything like
I
that.
think
But
mine is very, and I'm glad that you even acknowledge that because some people just they're blinded by what they're good at themselves because maybe nobody
mm-hmm,
brought it up to their attention or they just haven't recognized
mm-hmm,
it themselves. But one thing that I would say it's my talent, right? It's not, again, it's very similar to yours where it's like
mm-hmm,
it's not a sport. It's
yeah,
me being out in public speaking to people, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's where I find that I thrive in and making the connections the best in my ability in
mm-hmm,
person. That's one thing I horned on and
mm-hmm,
I've known this for quite some time, and this is I take advantage of it in my
mm-hmm,
real estate practice. It's because I know
mm-hmm,
I'm really good at it, so it's like, yeah,
yeah,
why not? Because that's the best way that you're going to be able to connect with people. Then yeah, do that
mm-hmm,
more than what many people will even encourage you to do it. So
yeah,
mine is not even like a talent, right? It's just my personality, if anything, that
mm-hmm.
enables me to be that type of individual. So,
But it definitely is because I'm. It's funny. I actually even have a hard time saying I'm a social person,
mhm.
because like I don't approach people. I don't like. I'm not the type of people. I'm like I don't really need new friends, like stuff like
No new
that. And I'm
friends,
not.
no new
I'm
friends,
not.
no new
Yeah.
friends, no, no
I
new.
don't. I don't think I'm standoffish, but I just don't. I don't approach people kind of like the way that you're saying.
Yeah.
So even as you're talking about it, I'm kind of like. Like I don't love the idea of like approaching people. It's not like social anxiety. I don't have an issue with it. If they approach me, I'm happy to engage in conversation.
Mm,
But it's once I have some sort of connection to them. Once if you join my team, now we have a connection. Now I'm happy to
yeah.
get like
Get
I
out
just
of.
mentioned I'm driving to San Diego this weekend. I'm driving with two new people I've never driven with. That's a lot of time to get to know somebody. So the
Yeah.
connection piece will likely be there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So just things like that. So not so much the actual approach to somebody or like connecting with strangers, but once we have that piece, then it's like
It's
you're
easy.
gonna
It's
feel
easy
heard. You're
peasy.
gonna feel
Yeah.
yeah
So, yeah. The
that.
connection
So it is a
piece
talent
is
because I don't have that
well. I think.
or
I
or
mean, you
choose to
could.
have it.
Yeah, you could probably have it, but you just don't really recognize it, or
Mm,
you don't care to get good at it. I don't know, but I think
yeah.
it's may not. It's easier said than done for many people. I will say, yeah.
Hmm.
But once you find the connection, I mean, the conversation kind of just woo, it goes because
Hmm.
again, there's a conversation that needs to be had there because you guys have
Hmm.
similarities, and that's
Yeah,
essentially what I
absolutely.
do. Whenever I'm connecting with random people, I try to find the quickest way that I can relate to this person
Yeah,
because that's the
absolutely.
only way both of us are going to be engaged in this conversation. If we're not engaged,
Hmm.
what's the point of it? Let's just go
Yeah.
about our day.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
those are all questions that you can kind of lay out in front of you because they're going to essentially help you know which direction you should take to move
Hmm.
forward with what it is that you want to do. Because the next big thing that's going to come across your lifestyle or just anything that you go through is making tough decisions. Oh man, uh, every single one of those questions I just asked away, in
Hmm.
some way, somehow, there's going to be a tough question that, or a tough problem, or something that you're gonna have to
Hmm.
mitigate. How is it that? What's your process like? Right? What is it that you do? I'll give a story
Tough
because,
decisions.
huh?
I said in making tough decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's your process like? Do you have one?
You can give your story first and
Yeah, I'll give my
I'll
story.
I'll think on it.
Because I learned this, I want to say it was in 2021, where I mean that was the year I had to make one tough decision after another, whether I liked
Hmm.
it or not. It was just life. You know, life
Hmm.
is happening, and there's nothing that you can do to mitigate this. So that is the year where I started to learn. The more I give myself time to think
Hmm.
on it, the better my decision will be and the better the outcome was. And
Hmm.
sometimes it was, all right, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Just make the decision, get it done, get it out the way so you can progressively move forward and get that at least out of your head for now. And so I
Hmm.
would say more or less what I've started to adapt more and more. And remember, Courtney, we went through this not too long ago, where I gave myself time to make a decision on what I was going to do. And this one
Hmm.
wasn't so much of a tough one, right? But this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
was giving myself that time to decide, all right, what are we
Hmm.
going to do here? Are we going to shut up or are we going to speak up?
Hmm.
And that decision was part of what I've learned in 2021, which is giving myself time to make decisions, whether it's tough or not.
Yeah.
Just that time in itself, that is what I would say that I started to implement more and more, and it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it turns out better, and sometimes it's like, ah, we could have probably just made a decision a little sooner and kind
Mm-hmm.
of get the same result. But giving myself time,
Yeah.
that's what it is for me.
So what if something comes up for you that appears to be a difficult decision and you feel like you don't have time? If there's like a deadline or something. Because
That's a good one.
the
That's a
reason that
good
I
question.
ask is because if I think of difficult decisions recently that I've made, I needed to move last year and I didn't give myself enough time. So the decision came up quickly. And then like recently I got a new car and I didn't mean to get a new car. So
Mm,
that was like a very quick, like I had to think that day of what was going to be best for me. And I don't think I wouldn't call them difficult decisions. I would just call them like big decisions, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, right, right.
But so I didn't have the time and it
Okay.
was a frustrating process. So that's why I ask.
So when you say you didn't, and I wanted to kind of decipher, when you say you didn't have the time, was that because you forgot that there was a deadline already in place, or this deadline just popped up and you just like, oh crap, I got to figure this out now?
No, I guess you're right. I shouldn't say I didn't have the time. I should say I didn't prepare enough. Um, so for the car, for example, my lease is up in February. I had
Yeah.
leased a car. It was up in February, but with all the before the new year deal, whatever year
Ah,
end sales,
gotcha. So they
whatever.
got you with one of those. Okay.
So it was
Okay.
just kind of like let's go see,
Yeah.
and then once we were there, it was like you're doing this now. So it's like
Oh,
I thought I had till February, but then when you get there, when you get to a car dealership, they're just like in your face,
yeah.
and all that stuff. So and it really was like you have to do this now, or the numbers are going to change. Everything's going to change. You're going to have to talk to somebody new and do this over again. So it feels
So
stressful. It feels like the deadline has changed to today.
in that situation, I think the only thing I could have ever done is laid out what the numbers would be like now and what the numbers will be like
Hmm.
later. And
Thinking,
then I
yeah,
was,
through your
yeah,
options and
see what my
yeah.
options would be. And that way, sure, you want me. And that's the thing, right? I think car dealerships, and shout outs to you guys. I mean, I have nothing against you guys, but they say one thing, but in reality,
Yeah,
it's another thing. You
yeah,
just gotta say the right thing at the right time and get yourself out of there in the right
yeah.
situation. But in your case, you're saying you went there and they're like, you got to do this now. I would have said, well, give me 24 hours to think on it,
Hmm.
because it's the same thing that they do with a car. If you buy a car,
Hmm.
they'll give you, at least I think CarMax does it, they'll give you 3 days to
Hmm.
trade it back in, to choose something else. They're giving you time to finalize that
Yeah.
decision. So therefore, you can go turn it back and do whatever you got to do. So, and
Hmm.
anybody, I mean, just say, give me 24 hours to think on this, and then we can, or you can say, is this offer going to be valid in the next 24 hours? Therefore, I want to
Hmm.
give you an answer then. Let's reconvene
Yeah.
then, right? And if somebody says no, but then now you really have a tough decision to make, right?
Hmm.
Now you
Yeah.
got to look at both numbers to see what
Yeah.
makes more sense for you and your financial situation. But I would immediately go on the
Just try to give yourself more
try
time.
to give myself more
Yeah.
time, simply
Yeah.
because I don't think any decision has to be a split decision. There's
Hmm.
somebody that's willing to work with you at some point in time.
Yeah. And I know those aren't like necessarily major life decisions,
Well,
and
I mean,
it doesn't
it
have to
applies to
be.
everything, I think, because
Yeah.
sometimes somebody may have a deadline right in front of them.
Hmm.
And I have it happen to me all the time. There's deadlines on homes that I can make offer on, and I'm like, hey,
Hmm.
is this a strict deadline or do we have some
Hmm.
leniency here? Right?
Hmm.
I do it all the time because
Yeah.
sometimes my clients aren't ready to make an offer on it, and we want to
Hmm.
shop some other options.
Hmm.
But it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That makes sense. I don't feel like I have a process. I feel like I just have a
Just go with
response,
the flow.
and yeah, I am. I mean, welcome season 3. Courtney's still a very feely person. So like nothing's changed there. And it's not going to. I don't dislike that part of me. I just, I really like, even with these decisions, I try to go through like what's going to make me happy long term. And happiness isn't just like, oh, I feel good. Like happiness is like, is this going to put me out financially? Because that's not going to make me happy. Is
Yeah.
this, but so there's lots of parts to the decision, but it all comes back to, is that going to make me happy long term? Um, is it going to be the best option for me long term? A lot of times it's, is this going to be the best option for me and Pua? my dog. So yeah, that's kind of my process, which doesn't there's not much to it, but that's what's
Hmm.
important to me. So
Maybe
yeah.
it's something that you look into. I don't know. If you don't need a process, then great. Something
Hmm.
that I need, because I know that sometimes I could make very sporadical decisions, and it's like
Hmm.
that wasn't necessary at the time.
Yeah.
Um, if you gave yourself more time, you would have seen how it played out. And I mean, phew,
Hmm.
by the grace of God, right? It played out the way it needs to play out. Now you look back and
Hmm.
you just laugh. It's
Hmm.
like, thank God I didn't do certain things, because then
Yeah.
you may have put a target on your back. But
Hmm.
I say all this to really say, just and really this entire episode is really just get back to the basics and
Hmm.
try to simplify as much as possible,
Yeah.
because ultimately if you don't, you're just going to be getting thrown things, you're throwing things at the wall constantly. And
Hmm. Hmm.
if something doesn't stick, great, but I think the less that we throw and the better our accuracy gets, then we're gonna hit, right.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
stick on the wall for as long as we need it to stick. And
Yeah.
we live in a day and age where things are getting thrown at you on a regular basis. I mean, just look, scroll on social media. I mean, good
Hmm.
lord.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I just try to stay off of it as much as possible.
Yeah.
You get something new getting thrown at you
Hmm.
every single time you log into that app. Not every day. Every
Yeah.
time you log on,
Yeah.
immediately something new is coming at your face. And so now
Yeah.
you have to process that. Now you have to look at it and do all this different stuff. But it's really, I think it's not even a tunnel vision. It's kind of, I just think, getting back to the basics and
Hmm.
simplifying everything in your world
Yeah.
and allowing everybody else to be chaotic. And then you can do what you have to do.
Hmm. Yeah. I was just gonna say, part of just going back a little bit to like the making difficult decisions. I was just gonna say one thing that I try not to do is do it when I am in a state of stress, which kind of goes back to the other question that you asked, which is like, how do we
Yeah.
react when we're
How
under
do you
stress?
typically, yep. How do you typically behave under stress?
Behave under stress. Yeah. So one thing that I know, just through my work is very apparent, and through my work on myself, is when we are under stress, we go back to what's comfortable. So that tends to be old habits, and old habits that which goes into another
So,
question.
yeah.
So they all go together, which is fantastic. But that's what we do. So when you're under stress, when you're feeling discomfort, when you're frustrated, sad, whatever, we
Yeah.
go back to what is comfortable. And a lot of times, what is comfortable is not what's best for us. Um, so, in terms of making difficult decisions, I try to do my best to process the emotions first, what emotions are coming up for me, and I don't want to make a decision out of those. Um, and then, once you're feeling, just like any conflict, no conflict resolution happens while you're feeling the emotions of the conflict. You have to let those pass and process those before you can make more positive decisions. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because we do just human nature go back to, and I was just having a conversation with a friend yesterday about this, and then I had the same conversation with my supervisor about like it would just be so much easier to do what I usually do in this situation, but I know that with the growth that I've had, that's not the best thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I found, I'm just going to share this, I someone that I would actually love to have as a guest shared
Oh.
this on, we've had some conversations about it, but shared this on social media, and I responded. I was like, I am stealing this. And I was like, I'm reposting it. And she was like, I need it as my wallpaper. I was like, I literally just set it as my wallpaper. Like, it was just one of those quotes that I'm like, I need to see this repeatedly. I made a wallpaper out of it on Canva and everything. It was the whole thing. But it just says, avoid the temptation to make choices that are familiar but no longer serve you.
Hmm.
And the reason that I'm sharing that is because that's what we do when we're under stress. Is you're like, I'm just going to do this. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's like
Mm.
that's how habits exist, is because we're just like, we'll just do that. And that's the challenge that I have in terms of back to basics. Because I agree with you and I agree with what you're saying, but not in the way of what's comfortable. Still continue to challenge yourself to grow and see what's better, see what's positive for you. Um, but yeah, it doesn't have to be old habits that we're not looking to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just thought that was interesting. But I like how all the questions go together. I think they're important questions.
Yeah.
So
I don't have anything last minute to say. I think the last thing that I would personally say is focus on progress,
hmm
because progress is better than perfection. Getting started is better than perfect. I've done plenty of that to be able to speak on that. To some things that you guys probably have no idea about because I don't share with you guys, all right? Intentionally, right? Because it may not be for you. But it's, again, progress is better than perfection. So, till next time, keep on applying those perspective, education, growth, and collaboration.